It's not every person that can reinvent their lives in their 60s, build out a van without any construction experience in terms of home building, do the electrical, teach themselves all the skills that they need, and really basically build a tiny home on wheels. But that's what Carol did. And I'm going to introduce you to her today, this resourceful, brave woman who also has a spirit of adventure. A life of adventure and exploration is not only for the young, it's for the young at heart, no matter what age. And come on with me as I'm going to introduce you to someone who's young at heart in their 60s. Well, hello, Carol.
Hi, how are you?
I am fine. You know, your story is so appropriate for being at the gutted event because you completely gutted this, but we'll get into that in a minute.
Yes.
But you are 60, 61?
61.
Okay. And can you tell my viewers what brought you to be living, because you're living full time in your van right now.
Yes.
So what brought you to this?
COVID. I was in the airline industry and, you know, it was a shutdown. I knew eventually they were going to offer some packages, some early out packages. So I went and took advantage of that. The airline industry was already changing and I just knew I wanted to move on. And I've done my 25 years, so I was happy to, you know, say, part the ways, you know, and do this. I've always wanted to be on the road and drive around and see the country because it was easy for me to leave the country, you know, and get on a plane because I flew standby, but it was hard for me to get around domestically. And I come to the conclusion I hadn't seen my own country, you know, I did a little bit, but, you know, like they have, you know, like when you're on Facebook and they put all these places like, have you been here? Have you been there? Have you been there? And I was like, a lot of the checks for the United States, I wasn't even there. So I wanted to see it, you know? So that was my first interpretation of, you know, getting out and being on the road. And I did that in my car. So,
wow. And
yeah.
you were telling me you had a solar panel on your car.
Yes, I had a solar panel, a refrigerator, because I went up to Seattle and got some seafood, some fresh seafood, and brought it home in my freezer.
Home being Texas.
Home being Texas,
okay.
Yes.
So, but you were saying, as far as, so people who don't understand, as an airline employee, you were able to fly standby. And it was easy to get on international flight standby,
yes.
But hard to get on domestic flights.
Domestic flights, yeah.
Okay. So you decided to move into here full time.
Yes.
Now, do you have a home base still or no?
Yes, I do. Texas is still my home base. My kids are there. My grandkids are there. I have 5 grandchildren, 4 boys and 1 girl, and I have 2 daughters. They're both married, and matter of fact, that's where I'm getting ready. When I leave here, I'm going back because one of them is having surgery and my grandson is having surgery, so I'll be there. So that's my little home base when I'm back at home, you know.
So you were saying that, you were telling me earlier that you still have a home there, but you're leasing it out.
Yes, I do.
Okay. So that generates income, additional stream of income for you to help traveling. Now, I wanted to get a little bit of information on how you came to build out this van, because you were telling me that you completely did the build yourself, and you have basically no home building, construction, or electrical experience. So how did you learn to do all of this?
Well, watching YouTube University. I watch Jared Tochi. I watch Linnea. Matter of fact, Linnea, she was so step by step as far as and drawing out the configuration of the lighting. I got all the lighting from her. That's how I learned how to do that.
Wow.
And just watching different people online, you know, doing their builds and stuff and seeing what they did. And
it is just really so appropriate to have this interview here at the Gutted event, because you were saying when you bought this van, the bed was on the side over here, and you said the configuration was completely different. And as you got into looking at different things, you felt that you needed to completely gut it and start from scratch. So can you share with my viewers some of the things that you found as you were getting into looking at the van? Now you said
once I started taking stuff out of the, because it was IKEA furniture, so I started breaking that down because I knew I didn't want it, and the configuration. So I was going to change a couple of things around, but keep it, pretty much keep it. But once I started pulling stuff down, I was like, oh my gosh, there was a mold issue. There was a mold issue, so they had a water problem. Then there was there were no furring strips, so nothing was holding anything up. It was just there, and there was screws going into nowhere.
Oh my goodness.
It would have just came down. The ceiling would have came down. Everything would have came down because it was like it was holding it on each side, So yeah.
And you knew enough about furring strips from watching other videos.
Oh, definitely, because that's the only thing that's any kind of build.
So let me ask you this before we get on to the tour. What are your plans? Do you plan to do this indefinitely? You're 61 now. Are you going to do it until you can do it no more? Are you going to do it for a season and then stop? Do you have any plans? What are your plans?
I don't have any plans. I mean that's the beauty of this lifestyle. You don't have to have a plan, and your plan can always change. And it's so like that. I've lived like that with the airline industry. Okay, maybe I can't go here, but I can go there. Maybe I can't get home this way, but I can get home that way, So you always had a plan A, B, and C. Right now, I don't have to have a plan A, B, and C. When I was coming here, I went off and ventured off to the Grand Canyon because I wanted to see the Grand Canyon. I was already here, so why not just, bypass and drive by? And it was just a drive-by, just to look and see, oh, okay, I've been here. There's the Grand Canyon. I can look at it, and another time I'll come and really, settle down. But I don't have to make a plan right now on how long I'm going to do it.
So it sounds like you love the idea of having flexibility to adapt to things as they come up.
Yes.
All right.
I'm very adaptable. Well, it's been all my whole life,
That's a great trait to have.
Yeah. Well, I was a single mom, so raising two kids, and a single mom raising two kids, you have to be. You can't, because if everything that happens and you get upset and you have a meltdown, it gets you nowhere.
Well, I don't know about the rest of my viewers, but I'm excited to see the van that you gutted and redid with basically no construction experience, but you made it into your tiny house on wheels. And stay tuned. We're going to go into part 2 and see the van that Carol built basically from scratch.